In our headlines on this Friday, December 27th, here in South Korea. The Constitutional Court held its first preparatory hearing this afternoon, with President Yoon-suk's legal team in attendance, following days of silence about whether or not it would be present. Meanwhile, the political fate of acting President Duck-soo is being challenged by the opposition-led parliament amid the introduction of an impeachment motion against him at the National Assembly. And elsewhere, South Korea's intelligence agency has confirmed the capture of an injured North Korean soldier by Ukrainian troops in the battlefield as they ward off Russian aggression. We started the Constitutional Court where the first preparatory hearing took place earlier today. For more on this, I have our Oh Soo-young standing by live. Soo-young, welcome. I hear the session today was rather short. Do tell us more.
That's right, Sonny. The first preparatory session for President Yoon-suk's impeachment case wrapped up in just 40 minutes, with the justices requesting Yoon's legal team to submit materials and evidence, their grounds for to make his case in order for the proceedings to move forward. Beginning at 2 p.m., representatives from the National Assembly's impeachment panel and President Yoon's attorneys attended the Constitutional Court session, presided over by Justices Chung Young-sik and Lee Mi-sun. The purpose of the preparatory hearing was to organise the main grounds for impeachment, as well as determine the list of evidence and witnesses the two sides wish to draw upon throughout the trial. However, as President Yoon's side did not submit any documents, having refused to accept court papers delivered to Yoon's residence and office for more than a week, the court was unable to form a concrete list of grounds or a list of witnesses or even evidence. Based on the National Assembly's motion for impeachment and documents submitted to the Constitutional Court, the judges outlined 4 rough grounds for impeachment, which include Yoon's declaration of martial law on December 3rd, the proclamation of the martial law order through the martial law command, and the lockdown of the National Assembly, as well as the disruption to parliamentary activities, and the attempted search and seizure of the National Election Commission servers, as well as their employees' mobile phones. Those were the grounds that were temporarily laid out, and these would include the deployment of troops to facilitate the martial law decree. Now, the National Assembly's panel said they will later decide whether they'll call for Yoon's alleged order to arrest political, legal and media figures as an independent ground for impeachment. The panel also applied to summon 15 witnesses, including key figures implicated in the martial law order, such as former Defence Minister Kim Yong-yeon and Park Han-soo, who was appointed martial law commander, along with Do Sang-won, former Director of Military Intelligence.
Right, I see. Soo-young, in the meantime, then, do walk us through the near future proceedings at the Constitutional Court.
Well, having failed to set out the guidelines for the trial today, the court it set a date for a second preparatory hearing a week from today on January 3rd, the same time at 2 p.m. Justice Lee Mi-sun said that while the schedule might feel a bit rushed for the representatives, the severity and the significance of the case for the entire nation and its governance makes this kind of schedule necessary. Now, this also comes amid concerns that the trial proceedings could be delayed intentionally, as unfair or otherwise, as President Yoon's legal team expresses the need for more preparation time. There are also concerns that a ruling cannot be made with the 3 vacancies in the panel of the Constitutional Court justices. The court said this morning that the judges are still discussing whether a deliberation can be announced with just 6 members on the panel. Currently, as 6 out of 9 judges are needed to uphold the impeachment, the panel of 6 justices would have to vote unanimously in order to remove President Yoon from office.
And Soo-young, before you leave us, so what appear to be some of the sticking points in this particular legal battle?
Well, the constitutional battle between the executive and the legislature is definitely expected to heat up, with the possibility of President Yoon himself coming to court to defend himself. Prior to the hearing, the National Assembly's impeachment panel chief lawmaker Chung Cheong-rae and former Constitutional Justice Kim Mi-soo indicated to reporters that they will emphasize that Yoon's actions disrupted the country's constitutional order and that he incited insurrection by declaring martial law.
Rather than reflecting on or apologizing for these actions, President Yoon Suk-yeol is instead emphasizing that the constitutional amendment is justified. This raises the possibility of further constitutional violations, such as an additional declaration of martial law in the future.
The President, in his speech on December 12th, argued that his declaration of martial law was a political act not subject to judicial review, and that it was his executive right. So Yoon's legal team is expected to expand on his stance. His attorney Bae Jin-an told the court that the grounds proposed by the National Assembly should not be based on media coverage alone, and requested evidence-based claims. As he left the hearing session, Bae said that the President himself will speak out at an appropriate time.
Right, I see. All right, Seong, thank you for the latest on the impeachment trial, and do keep us posted. Meanwhile, at the National Assembly, an opposition-led motion to impeach acting President Han Duck-soo has been passed, further deepening the divide between rival political parties at the parliament. Our correspondent Shin Ha-young joins me live on the line. Ha-young, do fill us in then.
Sunny, today lawmakers at a plenary session of the National Assembly approved the impeachment of acting President Han Duck-soo, and the motion passed with 192 votes in favor amid a ruling People Power Party boycott. And this marks the first impeachment motion against an acting president in South Korea's constitutional history. And ahead of the vote, there has been a debate over the number of votes required to pass the motion. And the ruling People Power Party argues that Han's impeachment should be treated as a presidential impeachment, which requires the support of 2/3 of lawmakers, or 200 votes out of 300, while the main opposition Democratic Party argues that only a majority of 151 votes in favor are needed. And right before the vote, Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik addressed the issue, saying that it will adopt a majority of 151 votes rule regarding the motion. And right after Woo's remark, PPP lawmakers immediately protested, calling it invalid, then left the plenary session. The vote follows a day after the DP moved forward with the impeachment process against Han after he announced that he would delay appointing justices until the rival parties reach an agreement. Then the DP cited Han's refusal to appoint constitutional court justices, his support for President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law imposition, and his rejection of 2 special counsel bills targeting Yoon and First Lady Kim Gon-hee as key reasons for pushing for his impeachment.
And Ha-young, prior to the vote itself, I believe both the ruling and opposition parties share their respective stance with regard to the impeachment motion against Mr. Han, right?
You're right, Sunny. Ahead of the vote, the PPP decided through a party consensus to vote against the impeachment motion if the required number of votes in favor is set to 2/3 of lawmakers. However, if a majority of 151 votes is adopted, the party would boycott the vote. And as a result, the PPP did so. And pointing to the rising exchange rate, PPP acting chairman and floor leader Kwon Song-dong criticized the DP on Thursday morning for ignoring the economic and diplomatic crisis facing the country. Take a listen.
The impeachment of acting President Han Duck-soo is not for the country nor the people, but for DP leader Lee Jae-myung's own benefit. If the DP truly cares about the country and the people, it should withdraw the impeachment motion.
Kwon also emphasized that none of the 5 points in the impeachment motion violate the Constitution or any laws. And meanwhile, main opposition leader Lee Jae-myung reaffirmed the party's intention to impeach Han. Take a listen.
The exchange rate fluctuated due to the martial law declaration, spiked after the first impeachment motion was rejected, Yoon's public address, and Han's refusal to appoint constitutional court judges. We'll unite all our efforts to remove Yoon from office, eliminate his supporters, and completely end this insurrection.
And as the motion has passed, Han is now suspended from his duties, with Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok taking over as acting president. That's all I have for now at this hour, but I'll be back with more updates in our later newscast. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Ha-young, thank you for the latest from the Parliament. That was our National Assembly correspondent, Shin Ha-young. The Korean won slumped sharply against major currencies, trading above 1,481 per US dollar at one point during its session on this Friday. Our Park Konu reports.
South Korea's financial markets continue to exhibit volatility due to the ongoing political turmoil. On Friday, the Korean won closed daytime trading against the greenback at 1,467.5, up 2.71 from the previous day. Records were broken from the early stages of trading when it exceeded 1,470 in the morning, but that was quickly surpassed again as it hit 1,480, its weakest level since March 2009, following the financial crisis. Ongoing political instability, including the impeachment process against acting President Duck-soo, has been one of the major factors weakening the won recently. The Korean won ended at 1,402 to the dollar on December 3rd, when martial law was declared later that night, but has soared by over 65 won in around 20 days as of this Friday. The high exchange rate affected the stock market as well, with the benchmark Kospi closing at 2,404, down more than 24 points compared to the previous session, while the tech-heavy Kosdaq ended at 665, down nearly 10 points. The Kospi once even fell below the 2,400 mark for the first time in 4 trading days. Following the unstable financial market situation, measures to contain the situation were discussed in an emergency economic meeting held among key financial figures, including Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok. Those measures included monitoring and responding to the market situation around the clock and taking firm action to stabilize the market if it becomes overly concentrated in one direction. Holding meetings with CEOs of specialized credit finance companies to explain the government's efforts in addressing the situation is also planned for January. Park Konu, Arirang News.
And government officials and ruling party lawmakers have also framed out a support package worth some $7.86 billion US dollars for next year to stabilize consumer prices and to ease the cost of living for low-income households. The package was announced earlier on this Friday during a meeting at the National Assembly that also included private sector delegates. Also in agreement was an ambitious plan to generate over 1.2 million jobs, with the majority during the first quarter of 2025. And beyond national borders, an injured North Korean soldier has reportedly been captured by Ukrainian troops in the battlefield. Our foreign affairs correspondent Peunji has more.
This photo shared on social media shows a wounded soldier reportedly captured by Ukrainian forces, likely making him the first North Korean prisoner of war. According to a Ukrainian media outlet on Friday, the soldier was captured by the country's Special Operations Forces. The soldier appears to be injured, but it was not immediately known whether he received medical treatment. In response to the media report, South Korea's National Intelligence Service confirmed Friday that a wounded North Korean soldier has indeed been captured alive by Ukrainian forces. It said it was able to confirm this through a real-time information sharing system with intel agencies of South Korea's allies, and added that it will continue to closely monitor the situation. This comes after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said earlier this week that more than 3,000 North Korean troops have been killed and wounded during battle. Kyiv had previously announced that Pyongyang had sent around 10,000 to 12,000 soldiers to fight alongside Russian forces. If the Ukrainian leader's claims are correct, that means at least a quarter of North Korean troops deployed to Russia have been killed or injured.
There are already over 3,000 wounded and killed North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region. Russia is simply disposing of them in assaults.
Separately, Ukraine's military said it found a diary of a dead North Korean soldier that describes tactics for shooting down Ukrainian drones. The Special Operations Forces of Ukraine posted a picture of the diary on its social media on Thursday, which includes diagrams and a memo of how they should move in a group of 3 to lure and destroy the unmanned weapons. The Special Forces said it deemed the method as using living human bait. As the war in Ukraine nears almost 3 years, the Ukrainian military recently released video footage of its forces killing North Korean soldiers with drones on the front lines in the Kursk region, apparently showing that North Korean soldiers are ill-prepared for modern warfare. Peunji, Arirang News.
Authorities are working to determine the cause of the crash of an Azerbaijani plane on Christmas Day, amid indications that a Russian defense system may have shot it down. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
With the investigation into the cause of the Azerbaijan Airlines J28243's crash on Christmas Day underway, a number of Azerbaijani government sources say the crash was caused by a Russian anti-aircraft system mistakenly shooting it down. Reuters on Thursday, citing multiple Azerbaijani government sources, said that while the initial cause of the crash was believed to be due to a collision with a flock of birds, a missile that was fired to shoot down a drone over Grozny, Russia, exploded near the passenger plane. The sources also say the plane's captain requested an emergency landing at a Russian airport, but was denied and instead instructed to cross the Caspian Sea to Aktau in western Kazakhstan. The Wall Street Journal, on the other hand, believes that the Russian military may have mistaken the passenger plane for a Ukrainian drone and shot it down. Kyiv claimed that it was likely shot down by a Russian air defense system based on holes in parts of the plane. Azerbaijani sources stressed that no one is claiming that the alleged actions were done on purpose, but they were just taking established facts into account. In response to the growing allegations that Russia was behind the crash, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said it's wrong to speculate before the investigation concludes.
Now, as you have rightly said, the investigation is underway. Any aviation incident should be investigated by special aviation authorities, and until investigators make their conclusions, it would be incorrect to make any kind of hypothesis. So we cannot do it, and nobody should do it. We must wait until the end of this investigation.
Meanwhile, with the investigation into the deadly crash taking shape, the Brazilian Air Force dispatched investigators to Kazakhstan. According to the Brazilian officials, 3 investigators were sent to provide technical support to the Kazakh authorities in the investigation process. The ill-fated passenger plane was a twin-engine jet manufactured by Embraer, a Brazilian multinational aerospace corporation. The crash killed 38 people on board the plane, but also saw 29 survivors. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, as we count down the days to the end of 2024, we take a look back at some of the remarkable strides by K-culture on the international stage this year. Our correspondent Song Yoo-jin has a recap.
As the year winds down, it's time to walk down memory lane and revisit the cultural highlights of 2024. The biggest moment came in October.
The Nobel Prize in Literature for 2024 is awarded to South Korean author Han Kang.
Han became the first Asian female laureate in the category and only the second Nobel Prize winner from Korea.
I think Han Kang winning the Nobel Prize was a defining moment that showed Korean literature is now part of the mainstream.
Turning to K-pop, Blackpink's Rosé and American singer-songwriter Bruno Mars's APT became a global sensation. Rosé became the first Korean female artist to achieve all this, topping Spotify's global chart, landing second on the UK official singles chart, and securing 8th place on the Billboard Hot 100.
With Blackpink and BTS not performing as a full group this year, there were concerns about K-pop's momentum. But Rosé showed her talent and potential as a major female solo star in K-pop. Her success also further solidified K-pop's status on the global stage.
Meanwhile, BTS brought good news for fans eagerly waiting for their return. The group's oldest member, Jin, completed his mandatory military service in June, becoming the first to reunite with armies.
My bias is Yoon, so yes, Kim Sok-jin. So he comes back, and I don't know, I feel like my favorite person in the world, you know, come back to me, and it's really important.
So the wait of like 1.5 years, like it came to an end, and we see him so happy, so handsome. It made us feel like so proud.
J-Hope followed in October, bringing the group one step closer to their full comeback, with all members set to complete their service by next summer. However, not every news was celebratory. A dispute involving Min Hee-jin, the former CEO of HYBE subsidiary Adore, escalated into a family feud. In November, Min resigned, and New Jeans announced the termination of their contract with Adore, which was initially set to run until 2029.
The trust between us and Adore has broken down, so continuing our contract is just unacceptable.
Adore has filed a lawsuit seeking the validity of its contracts with the 5 members. On the screen, streamers thrived while cinema struggled. The domestic box office saw only 2 films cross the 10 million ticket mark. Exuma and The Roundup Punishment both released in the first half of the year.
The impact of COVID-19 continued to linger, so there weren't many blockbusters, and even those marketed as blockbusters didn't perform well. However, there were notable efforts to try something new, such as screen so-called shorter snack movies, films that won awards at art festivals, rare-releases, concert films, and horror movies.
But it was a different story for the streaming industry. Netflix's Culinary Class Wars became the first Korean reality show to top the platform's global top 10 non-English TV series list for 3 straight weeks. And the long-awaited second season of the Emmy-winning series Squid Game premiered on December 26th. And that was a wrap-up of 2024 in culture. 송유진, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, growing awareness about the impact of our actions on the environment is giving rise to a broader consumption pattern here in Korea that activists are hoping will take deeper root next year. Our An Sung-jin reports.
Earth Us. This cafe in a quiet area of Seoul is unique for a very special reason. It does not provide any disposable products. Instead of paper napkins or plastic cups and straws, everything here is reusable, even in the kitchen. If you want to take out a cake, you have to bring your own container from home.
Unlike other cafes, I like how this cafe is eco-friendly. Last time I came here, I brought my own pot to take out this cake. It's memorable that they really work on campaigning for a green environment.
The shop owner said the cafe strives for zero waste, and as a result, it produces only 1/10 of the trash of other cafes. But it's not only shops pursuing change. Customers are also stepping up. This social media influencer brings her own container to cafes and restaurants.
Recently, when I went to the market, the shop owner said I was the first to do something like this, and I had a lot of people stare at me. But as an influencer with millions of followers, I would like to work more on challenges like these.
A rising keyword in 2025 is climate sensitivity, which refers to taking active action based on the awareness of the environment. Ultimately, it means that companies and consumers choose their strategies and actions based on climate change on our daily lives.
From scorching heat to record snowfall this year, a professor says as consumers feel climate change personally, more and more have changed their consumption patterns.
These days, more people order delivery food, increasing plastic use. It doesn't require something big. If each and every individual can try just by a bit, it would bring much positive change.
As climate change and environmental issues become more apparent, more and more consumers are making sustainability a priority. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
And winter is here, and the task of keeping warm while saving costs remains a topic of universal interest. Well, here in Korea, according to my colleague Lee Soo-jin, innovative ways are being adopted at greenhouses and even at guest houses. To take a look.
With the cold winter weather, the temperature might be the only thing going down as heating bills go up. But here's how this eggplant farm located in the city of Jeonju has become eco-friendly to save on costs. The curtains on the greenhouse roof slowly close to trap heat inside the greenhouse. Even though it's currently 5 degrees Celsius outside, these multi-layer insulation curtains keep the temperature inside the greenhouse ideal for growing eggplants, which are notorious for being difficult to grow. And these curtains are different from the traditional multi-layer insulation curtains because they're made from aerogel, an ultra-lightweight, highly porous material.
Traditional multi-layer curtains are made from chemical fiber and polyethylene foam, which causes plant stress when exposed to moisture. And it also degrades quickly, unlike aerogel-based curtains.
And without these curtains, heating bills can reach around 300,000 won, more than $200 per night during the winter season.
After installing aerogel curtains, I've saved between 10 to 20% on heating bills.
Aerogel curtains not only help protect the environment by reducing the need for artificial heating, but are also recyclable. And greenhouses aren't the only facilities adopting eco-friendly practices to cut costs this winter. A guest house near the famous Jeonju Hanok village is one of the 2 certified by the city for its energy-efficient efforts.
Because it's a traditional hanok, it uses a heating system that leads to high energy bills. During the winter, costs are nearly 10 times more than in the summer.
To save on energy costs, the owner of the guest house has installed water-saving devices that manage water flow in shower heads to minimize the amount of water needed to be heated. And he has also switched from using single-use items to refillable shampoo bottles and water dispensers provided by the city government, reducing waste disposable costs. As temperatures continue to drop with the peak winter season approaching, these energy-saving methods will hopefully be adopted nationwide to not just reduce costs, but to contribute to a more sustainable, energy-efficient future. 이수진, Arirang News, Jeonju.
The cold winds grew stronger yesterday. With cold wave warnings in place, temperatures stayed below 0 degrees even during the day in central parts of the country. This extremely cold weather is expected to continue until tomorrow. In the cold, more snow is forecast, mainly for western regions. Starting with Chungcheongnam-do province and the Jeollado provinces during the day, snow and rain will expand to southwestern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and Chungcheongbuk-do province, inland areas of Gyeongsang-do provinces, and Jeju Island tonight. Tomorrow, Seoul will start off at -7 degrees, Gwangju and Busan -1 degree. Daily highs will move up to 1 degree in Seoul, Daejeon 2 degrees. Most of the snow will stop tomorrow morning, but a small amount is expected in Chungcheongnam-do and Jeollabuk-do provinces on Sunday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.